police are awaiting lab results in a vehicle crash and rescue from last week.
Authorities say around 6:30 Thursday night, 60-year-old Suzanne Renee Stevens Moe of Plymouth crashed into a line of trees near the Minneopa Golf Course. Responders found Stevens Moe trapped between two trees with the car on fire. With the help of multiple departments, crews were able to tow the vehicle out of the trees while containing that fire with extinguishers. Some of those first responders happened to be at the golf course at the time. In the end, the driver was taken to the local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Today, police are reviewing the case and are awaiting lab results to confirm whether or not alcohol was involved in the crash, in which case they would likely make a referral for charges to the county attorney.
We're very, thankful that the outcome was good and that the driver's surviving this crash, but we wouldn't forego consideration of any charges because there was an injury to the driver in the crash. It's all going to be considered.
The crash happened just before the start of the holiday weekend, which the sheriff's office says was relatively peaceful. They report 2 impaired driving arrests over the holiday weekend. Law enforcement says they were prepared for a busy weekend considering how the 4th fell on the calendar.
I think it was, all things considered, with people being out, enjoying the weather and the lakes and stuff, I think it was a pretty successful weekend overall, at least in our area.
Lab results in impaired driving cases can often take several weeks or a month to come back, as it needs to be tested at a facility in the Twin Cities before charges can be considered.